Manali, is the screen visible? Manali, is the screen visible?
Yes, the screen is visible. Your voice is cracking, but
Yeah. Manali, is the screen visible?
yes, the screen is visible. Your voice is cracking, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manali, is the screen visible?
I think it is something trouble
yes,
with the
screen is
audio.
visible. Your voice is cracking, but
Yeah. Hello, Shweta.
Yes, ma'am.
Shweta, we can start.
Yes, ma'am. Am I visible and audible?
Yeah, you are visible and audible.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, guys, we should start. A happy midweek morning and a loud trumpet welcome to all of you. Today is not just a random pandemic day where I have to play catch inside just like Joey and Ross, but today is a very special day to catch those dreams, seize the time, and be creative. I'm Shweta, the regional director of Packidam Tales. It is a creative space that soar up to the lens of one's imagination. So, catch a train to Packidam Tales if you want to meet a clan of extraordinary minds. Today, I would like to welcome the dignitaries of the esteemed institutions, University of Trunojoyo Madura, Indonesia, and Kongunadu College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore, whose associates were indeed very proud of. I would heartily welcome all my jumbo clans, especially Priya ma'am, whose undoubtable support has led us to this program. And I would like to welcome Dr. Abdul Ali Jinnah, whose support is always there with us, and he always brings with him a golden platter of opportunities. And I would like to welcome all the dear speakers, Dr. Abdul Ali Jinnah, Dr. Imran Bahid Herit sir, and Manali Desai ma'am. And I would like to welcome all the dear audience who are there with us from everywhere around the world. And for you all, I have an announcement for you. For all those participants registered in this workshop, have the opportunity to submit your works to packidamtales@gmail.com and get published. So, you all know this pandemic has changed everything. And it's no surprise that it has changed the writers too. Some took their time to writing and some gave up their time to writing. Opportunities are springing everywhere to the writers to write about the contemporary works. Even in Packidam Tales, we released a title called Corona Garden. It means a love in love world. Every idea itself stretches its boundaries. How far can it be stretched? How far this pandemic be of prominence to writers? For this and all our questions, let's listen to our speakers. So without further delay, we'll move on to the speakers. Dr. Jinnah is one of our speakers today. His lectures on creative writing are always up to date and resonates with the present generation. He has given special lectures for over 100 and more than national and international conferences. He is a member of Gothic Association of New Zealand and specializes in flash fiction and horror narratives. He is inclined towards pop culture, dread narratives, and post-human discourses. As a mentor of creative minds, he had edited an anthology of Gothic poetry titled White Eyes and Black Shrouds, and forthcoming anthology on travel writing, Rest for Bear. We are already on the edge of our seats, sir. We welcome you to continue your speech.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shweta. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great opportunity to be a part of creative learning process. And it's been quite some time since I have spoken to my students.
Yeah, for
Thank you.
sure.
It's a great opportunity to be a part of. Yeah, hi. I think there is a delay in sync. Fine. So, as I was saying, it's been some time since I have addressed a group of students and fellow writers, of course, because we have Manali ma'am along with us, who I believe is one of the prominent writers today. And of course, we have Dr. Imran also, who has just recently come out with an anthology of short stories, which is also extremely popular today. So in the midst of such writers, speaking is, of course, a pressure. Now, when we started this workshop, there was this big question that was looming in front of us. The question of course, creativity. Now, when I was preparing for this, 40, 50 minute odd presentation, there's one very pertinent question which was right in front of me. The question was a question that Pachyderm Tales actually incited in us. Was the question, why write in these times? And I believe when Shweta was giving her welcome, I think she also hit upon that. This question is actually followed by a couple of other questions. Question number one, from 2019 to 2021, where we are today, I think that is a profound question of self-discovery that we need to ask ourselves. What have we done with our lives? Am I right in saying that, in these 24 odd months, life has turned topsy-turvy? Where we were and where are we today? A very profound spiritual and philosophical question. What have we done with our lives? What has happened? Why are we like this? 2019, the whole world was traveling around, and Alvin Toffler, even in 1970s, he had talked about the generation of the new age nomads. People were basically rootless. People were excited to jump out and just travel, be passionate about their lives. But 24 months down the line, we are living the life of cooped up individuals. So it's a kind of a vis-a-vis process where, in 24 months, a life of unfettered freedom has now become a life of imprisonment. And it has its own trauma. I know most of us are undergoing the process of depression. We are all traumatized. Because I think our generation is not a generation that is used to being, caught up, fettered, confined in such small spaces. The whole world is our home. That's what we always used to say. So when it comes to the trauma of confinement, I think that is exactly what Pachyderm Tales was also trying to focus on. Whenever we talk about the theory of trauma, they always say that trauma is something that can be released only through a rendering of narratives. Writing down, or maybe we should broad base it and say that instead of just using the word writing down, it's about release through the process of creativity. Have you noticed this change between 2020, the containment, the lockdown of 2020, and the second lockdown that we are undergoing now, 2021? There's a lot of difference, because the first containment, though of course it was traumatizing, though it was something that was very stressful, it was also a time when we were trying to invoke our creative processes. I mean, I know a lot of people who took up cooking in a big way. I know a lot of people who were sitting down and writing big ways. So there was a process of creativity that was being followed, which I think is sadly missing in the second stage, the lockdown of 2021, because most people are so depressed that they do not get out of their beds. I, for one, have been spending a lot of this time, just staring vacantly at the ceiling. In such a situation, that question, the original question, why write in these times, becomes prominent, because I think the only way we can defeat the evil of vacuumization, the ennui that we are facing, is only through the process of creation. So why write in these times is a question that has been asked by profound philosophers like Sartre. And the answer for that is very simple. We write, we have to write, we need to undergo the process of creativity, just at least to find that release within ourselves, to de-stress ourselves, to unclutter ourselves, and to free ourselves from the confines of this forced captivity that we are facing. That's obviously number one. Of course, there is the other very pertinent question that we need to consider again, especially for students who are, in the process of finishing off their courses and moving ahead with their lives, looking at job opportunities or, professional spaces. Now, this is something which I talk to you from my own personal experiences as a teacher. Students who graduated in 2020, those who are going to graduate now in 2021, I mean, June they should have graduated, but the exams have not yet been conducted. So I know a lot of the students who are over here also are undergoing the same pangs. Now, for them, there's a very interesting, pertinent, monumental question. What are the openings for us today? I mean, where do we go from here? Most of us are students of literature, right? So I think I can empathize with you, because I have my own students who are asking me this question. So what do we do now? We are finished. What do we do now? Because there was a time, a couple of years back, when you finish your degree and you move ahead with, let's say, a teaching career, you get yourself employed at a particular institution or, go to your corporate culture, get yourself employed. You understand? So you became an employee. Things are changing. Things were changing, but the containment has made us rush towards some kind of new dimensions where we are asking questions as to who is a new age professional. A new age professional, is he or she an employee, a conventional employee? Or are they those geniuses who are thinking of self-employment, startups, and especially for students of literature, that's what most of us are the questions of becoming creative content writers. I'm a teacher. I teach creative writing. But in more ways than one, the kind of profession that I am employed in is a kind of a conventional profession where I am an employee. But I am suggesting to the new age generation that is out there today listening to me, most of you, is that the Corona period has actually made us think of those new contemporary professions which are very unconventional. And believe me, dear friends, that if you're thinking of an unconventional profession where you become the employer, you do not, kind of stick to the nomenclature of an employee, and you become creative content writers, then that creativity is something that you need to actually focus on. See, my generation basically believes in, working till the age of 58. 58 is the age of retirement for us here in Tamil Nadu, South India. Some places it might be different. But basically we have this, mindset where we think that, okay, fine, we have worked till 58, we have earned enough of our salary, or, we get this annual pay or, monthly pay. That's it for us. But I don't think that is the kind of a mindset that the generation of today is having. You people are having. So when it comes to that, I believe, the process of creation, the process of, getting yourself down, sitting down and creating a narrative, creating an art, creating a design, creating a content, that becomes absolutely essential. So unconventional mindset requires a kind of a creativity. That is the process that I'm talking about. So maybe I'm harking back to a very, conventional tradition of writing poetry when I say that, you remember Ulysses, the great character created by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Obviously a very colonizing project, but the words ring true when Ulysses says that he cannot rest from travel. He needs to have new spaces. He needs to have new knowledge boundaries, which he needs to, reach out again and again and again. I think that is the kind of a mindset that I am looking for in the generation of today, who are pressurized both by shrinking professional spaces and the stress of, living in a lockdown as it is. Okay, why have I lost my screen?
It wasn't clear, so I'll be sharing the screen.
Yeah, okay, then can we move ahead? Can we go on to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
So next one. Okay, so in that corridor of uncertainty, where, as I said, professional spaces are shrinking, conventional professional spaces are taking a backseat. The mindsets have changed, coupled with, this whole process of containment and confinement that we are finding ourselves in. There is this great statement that is given by Michael Crichton in probably his most phenomenal book, Jurassic Park, which was made into a movie. One of the characters out there, Ian Malcolm, he says that nature finds a way. And we pride ourselves as being the anthropological center of nature. So if nature finds a way, I'm sure Homo sapiens, that is us, the beings of rationality, the beings of logic and precise thinking, I'm sure we also would like to find a way out of all this. And that way, I believe, the most positive way, I believe, is the creative way. I mean, a teacher who has been talking about creativity and talking about, literature for the past couple of decades, I became a full-time writer, a full-fledged writer only in the first containment. So my books on Gothic narratives, 3 of them, they came out only during the first containment, that was in 2020, August. So, as I said, people find a way, and that way ahead, the way forward, I believe, is where we try to put down our thoughts on paper, jot down our ideas or our stories, or we become part and parcel of what is called the creative. I'm sure every one of us has a story to tell. I'm sure when you read a novel, you read a short story, maybe even if you read a poem, watch a movie, I think somewhere down the line, your mind is telling you that, okay, this is something I would have done better. Okay, this is a story that I have already thought of. It's there in my mind. Okay, he bet me to it, or she bet me to it. I could have written this. I could have done this. I think that is a process that almost every one of us undergoes. It's a secret process where, you are your own master. You are your own author, your own writer. Everyone has a story to tell. Now, this is a time when we are at our homes, right here within these 4 walls. Don't you think this is the perfect time for us to just sit down, meditate, and whatever you have in your mind, that gunny bag of anecdotes, your personal life experiences, those slices of life, those encounters with strange peoples, those travels in the train, those walks down the garden, and the looks around. Don't you think this is the time for those happenstances which are here in your mind to be put down on paper? That's my simple question. You know, that great Canadian novelist, M.G. Vasanji, he talks about how everyone has a gunny bag, a gunny sack of stories. Stories from our past, stories from our culture, stories from our myth, stories from our nations. The collective unconscious of stories. It seems when Vasanji started writing, all he did was he took down a sheaf of paper and started writing from the library of his mind. So all those past instances which he has had, he just wrote it down into a narrative. And today he's considered to be one of the most mainstream of all writers. Look at all those writers out there. Name any. Salman Rushdie, Stephen King, Ian McKibben, any one of them would actually tell us that this is exactly how they started writing. So my dear friends, you have your own mind, you have your own gunny bag of stories. You know, open that gunny bag. Just move your hands inside. Search for, you know, whatever story you want, bring it out, and then weave the personal into the imagined. Take your personal anecdotes, take your personal stories, take all those slices of life, weave the magic of your imagination around them. And believe me, you would have a perfectly interesting story out there for the entire worldwide audience to read. Can we move on to the next slide? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. No, the previous slide. Did it change? Fine.
Is this the one?
The next one, the next one.
The Longines one.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I'm sure, you know, it's very easy to say that, fine. Whatever I said in the previous slide, it's very easy to say. Because there is this one challenging question which many of us would be having. Okay, I can imagine a story. I can think of a story.